but a little pre-show about. I haven't watched the video from BGS responding to Carnell. One thing I'll make sure I mention in the show is these are two of my favorite distant people. I don't know them personally, but I appreciate the work they do in the YouTube space, and I think they provide valuable information and perspective for people to chew on and do more research on their own. I think one thing that I do, even when I'm watching the video, like just hearing the title, The Disposable Class, I understand that Black Americans, ADOS, African Americans, Negroes, as we've been called, have been a disposable class for a very long time. And Black men, Black women, Black children represent three different parts, a three-headed monster, if you will, of the underclass, the disposable class of Black Americans. And this is me pre-showing. This is me before I do the reaction to the show.
Right.
Black boys and Black men occupy a particular space in this disposable class that we all are a part of. They're the subclass of this underclass because they were the first Black boys and Black men to be enslaved in the American form. Both the men first and then the boys in some capacity were the first to be captured, first to make the voyage, or first to be here for a significant amount of time doing backbreaking, geographic landform, reshaping kind of work. Fast forward through, slavery, antebellum, etc. Black boys and Black men, when you look at the stereotypes that they have had to endure, the stereotypes the bias that they have to endure, and the actual terrorism. See, sometimes we get too drawn up and caught up in the imagery and social imagery of Black boys and Black men that we forget that there's actual material life terrorism and damage that takes place in their experience. And that's why my point supreme, which I know this is why BGS had me, react to the video from him and Carnell, which is Black boys have been the baby canary in the coal mine, if you will. Like, no, they weren't even able to understand how deep in this coal mine they've been. And that's why many of them have been disposed before they even become Black men who would then be disposed. Oh. Like, they're the precursors to the disposability that once you start reaching, even like, remember high school. Like, let's talk about high school, our boys. The number of boys who don't make it through 9th grade and don't matriculate through 9th and 10th grade to get to 11th and 12th grade is, nearly twice the percentage of every other demographic. Like, no, we understand as educators that there's much more likely, a much higher probability that my Black boy is not going to make it through 9th and 10th grade, or will repeat one of these grades or one of these courses that is essential to the grade, versus some of the others who don't have that same matriculation problem. Like, others are still hovering their graduation rates for the last 30 years over 70%, over 75%, while Black boys and Black men have gone anywhere from 50% to just under 70% at their highest. So, like, Black boys have had a totally different experience. They've been pushed out of schools in K through 12, public schools that are tax dollar funded. They are the most disposable. They are disposed as children in a way that we don't dispose other children. We give them opportunity. We don't force them out of educational spaces from the ages of 3 in daycare all the way up to 18. We even have different pathways and pipelines to different careers if education isn't your passion and what you can be able to do. If you're mechanical and technical, or even want to go into other trades, there are other pipelines for every other demographic in school, as boys, as girls, that do not exist for Black boys. And again, this is the pre-show, and I know this is going to come out again, but just wanted to go ahead and point out, like, just the title alone, I can go in on, and I'm trying to, give a framework for, oh no, Black boys are the premier example of disposability in America, partnered with their, evolved form as being Black men. So it's really like, if you remember how people spoke to the Black boys you knew, if you made it to high school, that didn't turn off people saying that you had a risk of ruining your life. You could graduate high school and there's still the threat of ruining your life. You can go through college, and all throughout college, people still reminded me One bad decision, one being in the wrong place at the wrong time, one just people having a misunderstanding can change your entire life. It was a hairline trigger that was always around me. And because people knew as soon as you do anything that is off this beaten path, or just because somebody just having a bad day, they can now flush your life. And what I've seen throughout life experience as much as in the data is that happened way more often than not. And the black men that you see who are standing and have a home, who maintain a job, these are fucking unicorns. These are fucking unicorns when you start thinking about disposability of black boys and what they've experienced throughout their K through 12 education, if they made it through their K through 12 education. Like, we've been at alarm levels of failure for black boys for a very long time. A third, at the very least, are not going to make it beyond 10th grade. So when you start thinking about why are black boys and black men not at work at the same levels, and unemployment are at the highest levels of any of these demographics, it's like, well, most of them are educated somewhere between 8th and 10th grade. Right. So when I hear jokes about the conditions of the individual that are black men and those who speak about having inabilities or lack of ability for reading and reading comprehension, this is bullying. You know, because you were in school. He was your friend 9th grade year. Yeah, he kind of skated through and made it 10th grade year, but 10th grade year, he still was what he was on. You still was on the same thing, but for some reason, it just seemed like you was able to skate by and you got to 11th grade, but he was kind of taking half and half classes. He's in the English class and math class with you, but he still has to take 10th grade science and 10th grade social studies. And then by 11th grade, you start realizing there's a chance he might not graduate with our class because he's not in most of my class anymore. We still are friends and ride the same bus. By 12th grade, you know he's not graduating in your class. He's not in any of the senior pictures. And as your life continued to go on, oftentimes his story got forgotten because there's so many people, black boys like him, who, if it wasn't for them pushing you out in K through 8 because you weren't passing state tests, your behavior was bad, etc., by the time you got to high school, you were quietly pushed out. You were through academic rigor, pushed out from graduating with your class or even finishing at all. And again, this is just from the title of the show. So wanted to make sure I record, the conversation because it's like, no, this shit is already like, no. This is part of the reason why he wants me to talk about it, because they are beyond even the canary in the coal mine that black men are. It's an 18 to death demographic. That 0 to 18 demographic. Like the most daunting statistic that ever hit me in graduate school, and I always keep that article, is when you start talking about 3-year-olds being suspended from fucking daycare at the highest rate of any. Like, no. Compared to other children at age 3, it is damn near insignificant. It is damn near impossible. Your child has to be a fucking terror at 3. But if your child is a black boy, you have a statistically significant, over 5% chance that they're bringing their boy to you with a conversation like, we need to out of school suspend him because of his behavior. At 3. Because he's acting like all the other fucking kids. But his kid behavior is always understood to be, I don't care what he's doing. It is not what we need to be doing. And if you're not hip to this, you could think that your black boy is always fucking up when they go to school. So by the time they get to 8th grade, you agree with whatever they say. Hey, this is a little fucking up. This is a boy that fuck up all the time. I can't wait till they get in line with what y'all talking about, what I'm talking about, to get to the end. And you're disposable at school and at home. It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes we as educators have to kick parents in the butt to be like, come on. No, he's trying at school. He says the environment at home is not conducive. He's not hearing messages of, you can graduate high school, we support you, and we want to know what you're going to do beyond high school. He's hearing messages of, your time is ticking, nigga. You ain't got. Bro, you just like the rest of these niggas who've been in your family who we didn't support, who we have neglected more than raised. You just like the rest of them. I'm not going to be honest with myself or anybody else that I see you as disposable. If you are functional, you'll be a utilized tool in my life that I can get some money from. Or you help me move. Or you put my TV up. Or you help me put my roof, put some shingles on my roof. But outside of that, actually putting into you in a way that I know is going to build the community at a emotional, psychological, spiritual level, I'm not really into that. I don't see you as that. I see you as something that I can use, and once you're used up, you'll probably die early anyway. In some way of defending or trying to provide, and you'll be over and done with. And that's if you make it that far. The disposability of black boys is really about making it. Hip-hop always kept, the ages jump around. I didn't know I'd make it 22. I didn't know I'd make it 24. I didn't know I'd make it 27. And I mean, I'm glad we got to the 27 point. But you have a lot of black, the reason why you had nihilism as a conversation in academic hip-hop culture was because they saw how black boys were living and understood that black boys saw that most people don't really think I'm going to live that long. So why should I even move as if I am? But I'm going to stop it there. I think that's a good place to pause it in a second.